Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Coast to Coast on Game Plus TV and brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. This is a big thrill for me. Can we please bring in Andy Slater? Slater Scoops, Fox Sports 640 South Florida. I listen to him every day. Born and raised Miami guy. I'm just going to read off your resume, Andy, for our viewers for a second. Okay. Miami Herald named him the Reporter of the Year. Hardest working reporter. You've won that award. Let's say the award-winning sports talk host, Andy Slater. Slater Scoops. Welcome to the RP show, my guy. How's your day going?
It's going well. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You asked what we were going to talk about, and I'm like, I listened to you, Andy. It's nothing you can't handle. But I'm going to start with our poll question today for EMJ Marketing. Should the Dallas Cowboys hire Coach Prime? What are you voting on that?
Well, since you're giving me a vote, I'm going to say no. Only because, how much coaching experience does he have? Plus, the way he coaches, right now, I think it suits college kids the best. You bring them to the National Football League. You know how players are. You're getting paid big bucks. You want to do your thing. I don't know if his style of coaching would work in the National Football League with any team. So my vote would be no. Not saying I'm right, but you're giving me a vote. We're all entitled to our vote. Yeah. I'm going to vote no.
And it's a free country, and there's a lot of. I'm saying yes, and I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm teetering on leaving that. I mean, I live in South Florida now. I don't know if producer Clark told you that. I have a lot of pressure here to become a Dolphins fan, and I'm like, I feel like this would be going from the frying pan into the fire, being a Dolphins fan. They're pretty hot around here right now.
Yeah, when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, I think all Dolphins fans throughout the country and world, and particularly in South Florida, Rod, they just want to talk about a playoff victory. And they haven't been able to do that in 25 years. I've been doing my show since 2008. And I do not know what it's like to go on the airwaves and talk about a Dolphins playoff victory in the middle of January, like today. I'm looking at these games that are being played last night, this past weekend, and this coming weekend. How can the Dolphins get here? Look at these quarterbacks. What do they need to do? And that's the show that I'm used to. The draft, free agency. I have no idea what it's like to talk about a Dolphins playoff victory. I've never done it.
I know. And I want to get into a few things on that, but let's just say it for real. Slater Scoops, you break all the stories. And, your radio station, Fox 640, is not the voice of the Dolphins. It's not the voice of the Panthers or the Heat. I feel like you can say whatever the hell you want. I think that has a lot to do with your popularity. You don't answer to anybody. And you got the sizzle. I mean, what do you credit Slater Scoops to, man? And by the way, bravo, because I know how hard it is to do.
Well, I appreciate all those words. Yeah. My station that broadcasts my show, we don't carry the Dolphins, the Marlins, the Heat. They used to carry the Panthers. But, Rod, it wouldn't even matter to me. I mean, I'd still break the story. You're right, though. It does make it easier. And I'll give you a prime example. I used to be on another station for about 5 years. I've been at 640 now. They've been broadcasting my show for about 5 or 6 years. It's been a while. But previous to that, I would break a lot of Marlins stories. And usually stories with the Marlins are not that good. And this is when Jeter was in charge of the team. And my station carried the Marlins games. And my boss would come up to me, say, hey, the Marlins called. I love what you're doing. As long as what you're doing is factual, I love what you're doing. But just keep in mind, our station carries the Marlins. So there was a story that came out. The Miami Herald put it out. And I was kind of aggravated that I didn't get this story. You talk about scoops, and, I work hard to get stories. And if I miss one, especially if I was like on it and I saw it, but I just missed a detail, it gets to me. It bothers me. So the Miami Herald put out a story. There was a lawsuit that was filed in Miami-Dade County against the Marlins. And in that lawsuit, it said they were a citizen of the British Virgin Islands. And everyone's like, wait a minute. The Marlins are citizens of the British Virgin Islands? So I was already aggravated that the Herald put that out. And I read the lawsuit and I don't know, I missed that part. It's a long lawsuit. I said, somebody's going to go to the British Virgin Islands and get to the bottom of this. I said, that somebody's going to be me. And I hopped on a couple of planes. I went to the British Virgin Islands. There was only one pilot on the plane. Now I'm thinking about this small plane. I'm also thinking about this pilot's health because the only pilot on the plane. We get to the British Virgin Islands. I do this story, get the info. It's a P.O. box. And I got a call from one of the bosses at my station. I was in the car. I'll never forget it. I put the video out. I get a call from the station, and she says, Andy, you need to take that tweet down. I said, I'm not taking the tweet down. It's not happening. Well, we need you to take it down. I'm not taking it down. You could have the main boss call me. I'm not taking it down. Because Jeter and his people got to the stations like, hey, how are you putting this out there? And then they pulled my credential. And like 3 or 4 months later, I got a call from the station about some bogus thing. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to be able to air your show anymore. And it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened.
Usually that's how it goes, but I guess that's why you've won all these awards as the Reporter of the Year. But I did not know that story, Andy. That's like Bad Boys meets Dexter meets, I don't know what, Fox Sports 640. That's a hell of a story, man. But did you not break the story of Tyreek Hill being arrested on his way into a game this fall? Was that you?
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of people are going to the Dolphins games, and people saw Tyreek Hill on the ground, and I'm getting messages right away. So videos were coming out of what was going on with Tyreek Hill. I put in phone calls and text messages to my law enforcement sources and got to the bottom, people on the ground, because I wasn't there, exactly, what transpired. And I put that information out. And then everybody wanted to see the body cam footage because Tyreek's saying this, the police are saying this, fans are thinking this, I'm saying something. And the body cam footage is going to say everything that we need to know. And thank gosh we have that. And I was the first to acquire that body cam footage and put it out on social media. And that wound up getting, just on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, it wound up getting, I think, around 52 million views. And I was actually going to be on a flight that day that I postponed because it was running late, and I just said I'll go the next day. And once I put that video out, I thought to myself, if I actually went on that flight, the video would have been sent to me, but I would have been in the air and with Wi-Fi on the plane and the things that I needed to do and clipping down the actual clip. I probably wouldn't have been able to put it out there first. So that actually turned out to be a good postponement by a day.
As we say again, everything happens for a reason. Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in regarding the Prime debate, should the Cowboys hire Coach Prime. Brent in Wellington, Florida says, I really hope Jerry hires Prime. Someone that demands more attention than him should be fun to watch. John in Edmonton writes in, he says, question for Andy. What do you think of the NHL outdoor games in the state of Florida? Which, incidentally, I think you were at the forefront of that reporting too. So how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I broke that story a couple of days ago around like 11:30 in the morning. I found out that the NHL was going to put out something at 3 p.m. But again, like you were saying, I don't have to answer to anyone, and I'm doing my job. My job is to break stories and report. So put that out. But as far as the question goes, I feel like the NHL, everybody wants attention, of course. And the NHL, how do you get attention? You do something different. I don't think the NHL is in a bad spot. I don't think this is something like, I used to be a big NASCAR fan, and NASCAR was losing viewers by the minute. They even lost me. I used to go to all the races. I don't even pay attention anymore. And then they started doing some street race in Chicago downtown Chicago. Like, so you have these things in sports where you want the attention. When I say the NHL wants attention, you want it just for regular purposes. I don't think the NHL is hurting, but you're doing something different here. And the Panthers won the Stanley Cup. The Panthers have been in the Stanley Cup 2 consecutive years. So this is cool. It's something different. It gives people something to talk about. Like, oh my gosh, Florida, how are you going to do an outdoor game? We've talked about it, not a whole lot, but like, oh, imagine if they did an outdoor game in Florida, how would that ever work? And now you've got Lone Depot Park and Little Havana, and you have a roof just in case, there's really bad weather, obviously not snow. But you do have a roof there and you can close it. I don't know if they plan on having it open or not. I'm sure they do. But I think it's a cool idea. People are like, how are you going to keep the ice cold? Look, technology and machinery and all that. I'm not into construction and science, but I don't think it's that difficult to do. So I like the idea. And then they're having one in Tampa too at Raymond James Stadium. So why not do something a little different?
With technology, I have no doubts that they'll be able to pull this off. But let me ask you this. I told the people before you came on, you're a born and raised Miami guy, South Florida guy. Will you be going to the game? A, and B, if you do, or even if you don't, what do you think the atmosphere will be like? What do you think the crowd makeup will be? Just your normal Panthers fans or a lot of people? I'm assuming there'll be a lot of people that have never been to a Panthers game before.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, just for the experience. As well as a lot of other people, there's a lot of New Yorkers in South Florida, and specifically December, January, they want to get away from the cold. So more are in South Florida. There will be plenty of New York Rangers fans there, even if they're not doing well. We've got plenty of Panthers fans now. The Panthers culture and organization has completely changed. They're a winning organization. So there's a lot of Panthers fans that sometimes won't be able to go to the arena in Sunrise. Maybe they're down south. This is easier for them. It's an event. It's something cool. People are going to be talking about it. I don't know exactly how many seats are going to be open for this. I would assume the majority of them, if not all, or even more. So you could be looking at 30,000 plus, 35,000, whatever it may be, even 26, 27,000. I think it's going to be a packed house, and there will be more Panthers fans than Rangers fans. You know how New Yorkers are, Rob. They got the best everything. They got the best teams. They got the best pizza. They probably do have the best pizza. It's because of the water, so I hear. But there will be more Panthers fans than Rangers fans, even though New Yorkers will say, "Oh, we're going to all be out there." There's plenty of Panthers fans.
December 30th, the Rangers were here. The Panthers beat them 5-3, but I'm watching the game going, where are all these Rangers fans coming from? I'm like, I know it, but I'm like, it never disappoints. They always show up. You can't deny that they represent very well. And I guess lastly, hey, before I let you go, your love of gambling is amazing. You got a spade over the wall, over your shoulder. What's the deal on that, man? That seems to be like your number one passion.
Yeah, I have a lot of passions. I love playing poker. That's number one. I'm going to be playing in some tournaments coming up. I've got my own tournament at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood every single month. That's coming up at the end of this month. And now that sports wagering with Hard Rock Bet has become legal in Florida, it's just opened up so many different things, not just for me, but for everyone. Now, of course, you should never, and I don't, this is one of these things I don't have to say. I'm not obligated to say it, but you shouldn't be wagering if you don't have the money to wager. But if you've got extra money laying around, when you wager, you just think of, hey, I already lost it. It's gone. If I win, I win. But I love watching sports. I love talking sports. And when you have action on a game and these tennis matches, like I'm big into tennis now, Australian Open, just back and forth. You get to study them a little bit. You talk to your audience about it. They're engaged. They're into it. I just love it. So it really started with poker. I just love the focus and thinking about what someone else has, what they're thinking about, and then watching sports and having action on it and getting a big payday. That's what we all dream of. Even if we get paid well, we dream of getting paid more. Who doesn't?
Well, I enjoy watching your love for it. I make no bones about the fact I'm in recovery from addiction, not gambling, but I'm just not going to go down that road. But I can still appreciate other people's love for it, right? And I love what you do with it. So, Andy, thanks for this, man. I've been wanting to do it for quite a while. Like I say, I listen every day. If you ever want anybody to kill some time and talk NHL with you, I'm just down the road. Thanks for the time, and break a leg this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andy Slater.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Rod.
Slater Scoops. Now you know, everybody. He's broken all the biggest ones down here. From Fox Sports 640, South Florida. We'll be back with a sports update and whatever you all would like to talk about the rest of the way to the top of the hour. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.